Welcome back to Factory Seals. This is totally the first time I'm saying that tonight. It is December 18th, 2014. My name is Eric Peterson, and I am only joined tonight by the one and only Nick Stevens.
What's up, everybody?
So, you have been here 2 weeks in a row now.
I have been.
You are official.
I'm official. You know, I had important things to do too, but I put those aside, unlike Jess and Aaron, to come here and chat
there's
with
a
you.
lot of really important clubs in the world, and they have very stringent initiation rites, like the Masons. You have to be invited and go through all like these hooding ceremonies, and then there's probably the Templars. I don't know what some of the other places are, like Rotary Club. Factory Sealed, you just have to show up 2 weeks in a row.
That's right. Hey, everyone's
no
asking.
Shit-colored stars.
That's right. I don't want any of those stars. Not my first few weeks. I'll give it.
Jess and Aaron have plenty.
Yeah, they might as well just have a T-shirt on. Just has a big star on it. So,
so we're back for the second week in a row because we feel like we need to do this weekly, otherwise it's going to fall apart again. So we need you guys to keep us motivated.
Absolutely, because it's hard enough to motivate ourselves. It's easy sometimes if we cover a long game, do it week by week. I think that's a good model there, Eric.
Yeah, I can take it.
Yeah,
I do it. So for the people who are just listening now on iTunes, we had some technical difficulties, so we're kind of in a lurch trying to get back into our groove. What the hell were we even talking about when things went south?
I don't know, everyone's asking me what I do for a living. Maybe we need to go
That's
over that
right.
again.
Yeah, because as I was saying before, I always had this picture of you being this dude who sits at a soundboard, because you put out a picture with you and your kids playing, like it was take your kids to work day, and they were twisting all these knobs and probably making everybody else sound like shit. When the end of the day, you're like, God damn it, kids, you just made my work so much more difficult. I got to put all these knobs back in the right position, but that's apparently not what you do, is it?
No, that's only part-time. I work there maybe 10 hours a week. I do a lot of production work, so a lot of it's just pre-recorded stuff, so they can hit all the buttons they want. I can always hit undo. But
there's just a giant undo button on those big boards.
Pretty much, nothing's live. I'm back in a production room, so I'm pretty much using a program very similar to Audacity, the Cool Edit Pro, edit my tracks and junk. But
it's probably worth a lot more than Audacity.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But my real job, I'm in logistics. My title is Senior Buyer Planner. So what I do,
what does that even mean?
Well, if you ever heard of the term supply chain, I schedule production work orders based on forecasts and market demands.
So, are you the one who creates artificial shortages within the economy?
I could, but I don't.
Like, you could say, hey, guys, we only have 12 of these, but we've really got 16 warehouses full, so these prices are going to go up.
I don't control prices. I just control,
Well, no, the market controls prices because it's supply and demand.
Exactly.
Like what Sony did. I mean, Sony's like, we didn't want for these 20th anniversary consoles to be $20,000, but we only made 1,200 of them.
Yeah. But see, if I forecast or schedule wrong, I get in trouble for having too much or too little inventory. So it's all about having to do the right thing at the right time. But yeah, if you've watched the show Friends, Chandler Bing, how he goes to work, no one has any clue what he does. That's sort of me. So when I come home, my wife's just like, "How was work?" "Oh, it was great," and that's pretty much it.
I think that's a typical response for any guy.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone out there who's listening who's married, you could probably relate. And I'm pretty sure my wife's not the only one who's like this, where she comes home and like she's fully ready to talk about every minor nuance of her day and like rehash every conversation with everybody. And it's not that it's bad. It's just like she asks me how my day was, and it goes from, oh, it was awesome to it wasn't that good of a day.
Yeah, and usually my highlight of the day is, the prank I pulled at lunchtime on somebody or something. That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, I work in an office with a bunch of ladies, so it's constant like hilarity with them. I've learned to keep my door closed because they're so loud. I mean, they're not annoying. It's hilarious, but it's like, oh my God, they're so loud. I got to do this. And it's fun though.
Yeah. And all the awkward conversations you probably hear with a bunch of
I walked like today. It was the last day before Christmas break at our school, and they were giving out gifts, and I was coming back from working on some computers in a different building, and the first thing I see when I walk back into the office is there's two of the office ladies holding up this Chippendales calendar and like, oh man, Mr. November is totally better than Mr. October, and they just kind of look at me and just bust out laughing. I was like, you know what, you guys just keep doing what you're gonna do, and I'm gonna go this way.
Exactly. Well, then they'll complain about something their husband did the night before, and they'll be like, oh, do you do that kind of stuff to your wife? Do you treat her that way? I'm like, I'm not going to talk about that.
Heck yeah, I do.
Yeah, I treat her worse than your husband treats you. What do you think of that? No, it's it's interesting. There's about 8 women and 2 guys in my department, so me and the other guy kind of team up, and I mean we pick on these girls like they're our little sisters. So it's kind of fun. It kind of breaks the monotony up because again we're just staring at spreadsheets all day. So
there's nothing worse than a desk job.
Yeah, so like the highlight of the day is walking to the water cooler and hearing the.
I've got my job is pretty nice because I don't have anybody immediately breathing down my neck. I mean, I've got an office, and then I have free reign of the school, and like I can leave campus if I need to go get some other stuff. But yeah, sitting in an office would kill me. Like if I'm sitting at my desk for more than 15 minutes at a crack, it's like, Jesus, just kill me now.
Yeah. And what stinks about being salary is, I don't have a 40-hour work week. I leave when the job's done, which could mean at noon or at 8 o'clock in the evening. So
you see, and there's like me, I work to live. I don't live to work, so I could never be one of those. If you salaried me and my contract is based on a 40-hour week, guess what? You're getting a 40-hour week out of me. But that's just my take on it.
Yeah, I said that for a long time until they showed me some money. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll do this. But I get to take my laptop home, and if I really need to go home, it's not a big deal. I can just do the work, from my kitchen table or something. So that's nice.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't work from home because I would never get anything done. Ever. Like, oh, games.
Yeah, and I'll take it home and say, I'm going to get caught up on my, my stuff tonight, and I don't. I usually just wake up really early and go into work and do it.
So we are approaching Christmas.
Yes.
That's why before I forget, if you guys aren't following us on Facebook, we're trying to engage with people a little bit more frequently on there. I put out something a little bit earlier today that we're not going to record a proper show for next week. We are going to get together and do a little bit of a show. Something will come out, but that's only if we get your cooperation. We actually need you guys to help us make the show for next week. So what we want to do is create a Christmas episode. And I was thinking about this today that it's kind of weird because as of January 1st, this will be the 4th calendar year that Factory Sealed has existed in, because we started it'll be the 3rd. Sorry. We started in 2012, but we've never done anything special for Christmas. So what I want to do this year is have you all create a short audio clip of you actually talking. Please make sure that it sounds good. Just use something like Audacity, but create a short audio clip of you talking about your favorite Christmas video game memory. If it's something like a gift that you got or an experience that you had, or you huddled around your TV with your entire family killing each other over Tetris Plus or something like that. Just, because everybody has different experiences with video games and Christmas. And I mean, I could go on for hours about different experiences that I have, but clearly I have some that are far more memorable and meaningful to me than some others. And it's always really cool to hear how video games have affected different people and like how they've looked forward to it during Christmas. So with that, just send us a short little MP3 clip with, start off with your name, where you're from, and then just keep it short. It doesn't need to be anything super long, super in depth, but, if it's something that's meaningful to you, we want to hear it. And what we're going to do is take all of those sound clips and we're going to put them together and create a show out of it. So all of us will get together next week sometime and we'll talk about our favorite moments, and then we'll all listen to yours and put it together, and you'll actually be a part of the show, and people listening to the episode will hear your stories.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, and it's kind of interesting for you. This is your first Christmas with your daughter, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so this will be a memorable one for you.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a lot of it is video game themed. I haven't put out a picture of my Christmas tree or our stockings or anything yet, but 2 years ago I made myself a Mega Man stocking, an 8-bit Mega Man stocking. And then last year I made my wife a pink one. And then this year we needed to add something to it, but I didn't want to make another Mega Man one, like an actual character. So I made the E-Tank. And after I was done with it, I hung it up on the wall and went, wow, that actually fits, because my daughter's name is Ellie, starts with E, and there's an E-Tank up there. And just like the whole ensemble of it looks really good next to the tree that we have, which I've made a lot of the video game ornaments for, just out of like perler beads and stuff. And, you know, you look at it and it's like, well, it's, you know, it doesn't look gaudy. It's a good looking tree. So I'll put a picture of that out on Facebook here shortly, probably after the show. But, yeah, we want to hear from you guys. So emails are cool, but for this show, we actually want to hear you. If you got a good microphone, send us an audio clip. We'll put it on. Sound good?
That sounds good to me. That's exciting. You know, that's kind of what got me into doing podcasts, was being involved in this stuff. So you never know. Might be someone out there just kind of itching to get their foot in the door somewhere.
Yeah. You got to start somewhere and send us what you got. We want to hear, because we've always been about the fans, and I know a lot of other podcasts don't really interact with their fans, and that's something that we want to try to start doing a little bit more and giving you guys opportunities to be a part of the show. And I know we experimented with some stuff in the past, like have guests come on, and like that stuff's too random to really quality control.
Yeah.
This stuff's a little bit more planned, and we can make it good. So, I want to steer away from that conversation because I want to start talking about like Christmas and video games and what it means to be leading up to that. But I want to save that for next week's show. So there will be something next week, provided you guys actually send stuff in. So we need sound clips sent in. If we don't get any sent in, then we can't put a show together and there won't be something for next week. Plus I need something to do because I have surgery tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Oh,
and
man.
Yeah, so I got to be to the hospital at 5:30, surgery at 7:30, hopefully home by early dinner.
So yeah, everyone heard that. You need to get those in, so Eric does have something to do. He's going to put a little guilt trip there.
Yep. Give me something to do. So, Nick, let's talk about some video games, because that's ultimately what we're here for. Have you played anything else this week besides our game of the show, Suikoden?
Yeah, I'm always dabbling on the Wii U. I sent you all a picture, but we just bought Super Smash Brothers. My dad kind of surprised me with some Christmas money, and I went out and got Super Smash Brothers on the Wii U. It's
nice.
Very good. My oldest son's 5 years old, so he kind of grabs a controller and tries to play, but it's fun. It's definitely Smash Brothers. Anyone's ever played Smash Brothers, it's pretty much the same thing. I figured you might dig this one because Mega Man's in it, and it's a very classic-inspired Mega Man. When he jumps, he does the same motion as he does like in the Nintendo games, and a lot of the same sound effects. And when he gets hit off stage, it's the same sound, when he explodes on the game. So really cool.
That was the only thing that drew me to this game, and I've gotten a lot of sideways glances from people because to be honest, I don't like Smash Brothers. I've tried. I don't understand the culture. I don't like the game. And I think a lot of that stems from the fact that I don't necessarily like fighting games. I think it's a fantastic concept because it brings together all of these characters from so many different universes in one place. And I thought I would feel a little bit differently about that style of game when PlayStation All-Stars came out, because I have a very strong connection to a lot of those characters. But when it came out, at the end of the day, it's a fighting game. And for me, they don't have any longevity. And I think part of that is because I didn't go through that initial culture of Smash Brothers with all my friends in college, and we just didn't play it. So for me now, I think it's coming into the game so late that it's like, whatever.
But it does feel like the same game as when I played Nintendo 64. But
Yeah.
I am kind of, I'm kind of a snob with like the GameCube controller. I hate that.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't like playing it unless I have the GameCube controller because I just played it that way for so long on the GameCube and the Wii. So I had to. They had to sell these stupid adapters that you plug into the back of your Wii U, but they're half out of them all the time. You can't find them. So I bought this. It's a Nintendo brand, but it hooks into your Wiimote, which is just again stupid because you got to go pull out your old remote from your old system. Hook in this controller. It's just that's one thing I don't like about the Wii. There's just way too many accessories, and you got to keep all your old stuff. And I usually try to keep my old junk, but I usually have it up somewhere. But just to be able to use that GameCube controller, I had to do all that. But I like fighting games for the mindless just sense of it. So when I come home from work, my head's about to explode. And I play a lot of Street Fighter. I play a lot of like the UFC. I'm a big UFC fan, so I play a lot of that game. Just pop it in, sit back, and don't think about anything. But
see, I played Fight Night Round 3 on the Xbox 360 when it came out, and I think mainly I got into that because that was one of the truly first next-gen looking games. With all the sweat and shit coming down the guy's face and like the slow motion haymakers, and I really got into that. But I don't know if I would necessarily consider that to be a traditional fighting game. Growing up, I tolerated Mortal Kombat simply because it was so violent, and it was like I shouldn't be playing it, so I wanted to play it. And I could not stand Street Fighter. And any of those other beat 'em up games, I couldn't stand. It just, to me, it was, I don't know if it was the mindlessness of it, and I grew up on RPGs where I needed something a little bit more meat, like Marvel vs. Capcom just doesn't do it for me. I went to Evo 2K in 2011 and I was bored to tears because I can't stand fighting games.
It's so funny. Because when I was a kid, I didn't play a lot of RPGs. I'm just now going back to the ones I missed. Like, I get a lot of people tease me a lot because I haven't played Chrono Trigger until like last year. It's the first time I ever played Chrono Trigger, and I loved it.
I've never played it.
Oh, really? Wow, that's right.
Yeah,
I heard that on here. So
I played Chrono Cross and hated every damn second of it.
Yeah, that's really not a good game. I'd say Chrono Trigger is definitely one of the best turn-based RPGs I've ever played. But when I was a kid, it was all about fighting games, beat 'em up games, and some of my favorite games ever are like Streets of Rage on Sega Genesis. So that's just
and I think so much of that came from exposure too. If you didn't have friends who played that game and exposed you to it, you'd have no idea what it was. Now we have internet culture where it's like, you guys, you need to play this. You guys, you need to play this. And anybody now who plays games can tell you what the top best games on every console are. Whereas back when I was a kid, I was playing shit like Legend of Zelda and the Final Fantasies and Lufia, and I had no idea what Chrono Trigger and Earthbound were because none of my friends had them.
Yeah, that's true. Unless you had like Nintendo Power and their type of media, you definitely couldn't figure those out. And and I'll be honest, I had Final Fantasy when I was a kid, back in second or third grade. I think it just intimidated me. I put it in and all this text comes up and menus, and I think I was just impatient and wanted an action button. So
the hell, if I wanted to read, I'd go to school.
Exactly. So
I mean, my kid and I can't read. I'm gonna play a fighting game.
So, most of my friends were real big into sports games, so we did a lot of that when I was a kid. So, but it's something something on my bucket list is to go back and beat every Zelda game. I beat quite a bit of them, but I really missed out on Zelda, and I really didn't get into Zelda until like Ocarina of Time. I didn't play anything before that, so there's a lot of.
I remember I was out at my grandparents, not the grandparents who bought me all the games, but my other grandparents out in the sticks. And one Christmas, my sister bought me the gold cartridge of Zelda for NES, and I put it in, and I remember it being like unbelievably difficult just because he had no idea what to do or where to go. And at the time, I was sidetracked with like international track and field and the Final Fantasy and stuff like that. And then I didn't really get back into Zelda until one of my buddies in high school introduced me to A Link to the Past, and just that was it for me. I had to have every Zelda game after that. And then I played the Game Boy Advance, or the Game Boy version of Link's Awakening, which I will fight anybody to the death that is the best Zelda game that has ever existed. And then Ocarina of Time, of course, it just blew my mind. And like moving forward, Link's Awakening is arguably another really good one. But the 3DS one that just came out, oh man, A Link Between Worlds. Have you played that?
Yeah, I got it. That was something I got last Christmas, and every time the kids went to sleep or they were playing in their room or something, I was just on the couch going to town on that game. Love it.
I beat that game in probably 2 days. It was so good.
Yeah, and it was a little easier than most, I think. That's one of the very first Zeldas where I didn't get stuck, but it's definitely good. I like that top-down Zelda better.
I do too.
I definitely like Link's Awakening. I think Link to the Past is probably my favorite one. I do like Link's Awakening, but it's not quite my favorite. So
speaking of I was actually going to bring this up, but since we're on the topic of Zelda, 2 games that I've always really wanted to like in the Zelda series, but just for some reason, there's something about them that I don't like, is Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. And I've always wanted to play them, and finally I saw they were on the eShop for 50% off. So I picked them both up. And I started playing through Oracle of Seasons, which I heard was more, I believe that's the one that they said was more puzzle-based, and then Oracle of Ages was more combat-based. And I just could not get into it, because one of the coolest features of Link's Awakening was the trading system. It's like, I got this bunch of bananas. I got to go give it to the monkey who's going to give me a stick so I can go build a bridge, and then I got to do this, and I got to get the bottle and get the fairy and get the hook and get the seashell and just all this shit. Like, it was super cool, but it never felt forced. It felt like it was a natural progression of the game. But I got into Oracle of Seasons, and for God's sakes, that is all the game was just trading shit. And you had no idea who went where or how to get around the map, because you had to go to Subrosia or whatever the hell it was called. And I can't get into it. Yeah. And I don't know if it's because it was made by different developers.
Did Capcom make that? I think I bought that game recently, and I haven't. I dabbled in it for about 10 minutes and put it down. I'm real bad. If I'm playing a bunch of games, I don't try to dive into another one right away. But I bought it, and I found it at a yard sale or something for like $2, so I got a pretty good deal on it. But
it's a great game. I mean, it's traditional Zelda, but if you're gonna play the handheld Zelda, just get Link's Awakening DS.
Yeah.
I mean, that game is like handheld action RPG perfection. It's just, and even now, I mean, we did a show on it where Jess, who didn't really care for the older Zeldas, raved about it. It's such a well-balanced, well-played game. And I think I shared one of my embarrassing memories of that back on that show. But when I first got it, I remember spending hours, and when I say hours, I'm not exaggerating, at the very beginning of the game trying to find my sword. I'm like, okay, I've got my shield. I can see the sword on the other side of this sea urchin, but like, it was just pure accident that I happened to hit the shield and like push that thing out of the way. And from there it was all over. I'm like, this game's done. I'm good. Got my sword. Good to go.
I think every Zelda game I've played, I've accidentally done things to get through puzzles. It's no shame in that, because I mean, I think I got that part a little faster, but there's other parts of that game that took me way too long. And once I did it, I thought, oh, I'm an idiot.
Yeah. I remember I had to call, the only time I've ever called the Nintendo tip hotline was, I did. I don't know how I convinced my dad to let me do it, but, I was playing Link to the Past, and it was in the castle to the east where you have to walk under one of the trees. You can kind of see that there's a path there where there's a tree missing, but the top part of the trees all just look seamless. I couldn't figure out where to go. And finally I'm just like, I need to call Nintendo, Dad. I need to call them because I can't do this. I'm frustrated. Dad, let me call them. And he's finally like, fine. I don't think he knew how much it cost, but I finally called him, and when he's like, yeah, you just got to go under the tree. I'm just like, fuck. Felt so dumb.
We're so spoiled now, because now I just pull out my iPhone. You know, I usually, if I'm playing a game that's like that, I'll have it saved on my Safari or something. And just, I mean, it's sad how easy that is. But you know,
Go ahead.
I was Link Between Worlds is probably the first Zelda I played where I didn't need any type of strategy guide. I was shocked at how, and I wasn't sure if I was just getting smarter or the game was just. I'm pretty sure.
I really like how they kind of tied together A Link to the Past in the original Zelda, where they had the concept of you could really beat any dungeon in any order that you wanted to. You just have to have the proper weapon, and you can go to the store and either rent it or buy it. The downside to that game was that the rupees were way too accessible. I mean, I had every single weapon owned by the time I got to the 3rd dungeon.
I did
so
too.
For me, it really wasn't difficult.
And I think, going back to the whole mindless thing, when I play Zelda games, when I'm not really paying attention, I'll just wander around cutting down every shrub and every thing I can find just to get all the rupees. And I had, like you said, I probably bought everything way too early in the game, so nothing was ever really that big of a challenge with that.
Well, then I was reading stories about these speed runners or just difficulty runners. Like, you got to do a green shirt, like 3 hearts, and no purchasing weapons. Like, you got to beat the game doing that. Like, Jesus, people, just play the game and enjoy it.
Yeah, really.
But I suppose that's kind of the allure of it, is you can play it so many different ways.
Yeah. I never went back and played it. Isn't there like a real hard mode you can go back and...
Yeah, there is.
I haven't tried that yet.
I've kind of fallen out of my habit of replaying video games because I've got so many other games that I need to play. It's like, well, I played that and I enjoyed it, and I kind of like that, like I did with The Last of Us. I've told myself I will never play The Last of Us again, simply because when I experienced it, I want to hold on to that experience and say, like, this is the game for me.
Yeah.
Whereas the second time I go through, I start to nitpick it and pull it apart. And like, okay, this sucked. I didn't like this. Oh, that was too easy, or that was too hard. It's like, I just want to remember the game for what it was.
Yeah, and I haven't...
Zelda games are great to go back to.
Yeah, no kidding. I haven't even went back and played that DLC for The Last of Us. I kind of don't want to.
Oh, it was okay.
It was okay. See, I sometimes when I play those DLC and they expand on the story, it just kind of, I don't know if it doesn't ruin it, but I don't know.
It just kind of gives you a glimpse into like a gap in the story where Ellie and her friend are in the mall, and she tells you that story about how she and her friend are like, oh, we're just going to get bit and go down in peace together. And
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was okay. I haven't played any of the most recent Zeldas like Skyward Sword. I couldn't stand Twilight Princess. Just could not bear it. I got about halfway through it 3 different times, and it's like, I can't do it.
Yeah, when I started playing it, I just had my oldest son, so it was just hard to get involved in that game. I felt like it needed more attention than I was giving it. And I remember playing maybe an hour of it, and I just never put it back in. Ended up selling it to somebody.
Back to The Last of Us, Scrantis in the chat was talking about, for a while, he thought that I named my daughter Ellie because of The Last of Us, but then he realized that would be dumb. And there's kind of a strange coincidence, because as a former teacher, you come across a lot of kids and a lot of names, and growing up, I always kind of had this idea of like, yeah, these are names that I like. And everybody's got this list of names that, like, this is what I want to name my kid. When you become a teacher, every damn one of those names goes out the window, because you have some turd in your class who's named that, or you have someone who's a drug addict that's named that, or you have someone who's a priss that's named that, and you don't want to deal with that because it invokes memories of that. We chose the name Ellie because we both really liked the name. And the only student that I'd ever had that was named Ellie was a phenomenal, top-notch student, and she just was quiet and kept to herself and never got in any drama. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be reminded of her because of this name. I'm not going to be reminded of anything negative. But yeah, it was really, really interesting, because then The Last of Us came out, and I'm like, oh, God, everybody's going to think this.
That's cool.
So if we have a son, we're going to name him Joel. But not because of it would be because of The Last of Us.
And I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but we named our oldest son Isaac because I thought I hadn't heard that name forever. And it's an old biblical name and everything.
Oh, Dead Space.
Dead Space. I hadn't even played Dead Space till after he was born. And then we were in the hospital one time, and I swear they're like calling 3 or 4 different Isaacs back to the room. And I was like, well, there goes that. So
yeah. Anyway. Well, working down here, oh my God, some of the names that I see, it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm sure that I can't say them due to confidentiality, but sweet Jesus, when you people have kids, choose a normal name and spell it normally, because hiring managers, they do judge you based on your name. And as a parent, you can attest to this, Nick. The first gift you give your child is their name.
Yeah.
And they have to go through life with that, and they have to put that on their resume. And people are very biased. So
yes.
keep that in mind.
And employers do look at Facebooks. Don't let them lie to you. So
Yeah, so put your settings on do not find me.
Yeah. And if you don't want the world to see it, don't put it out there.
So I should take down all those nudes?
Yeah. No one needs to see this.
Yeah, well, maybe. So there's a game that I downloaded. This is where I want to start tying in some modern stuff too, because I feel like this is a game I want to talk about. PlayStation's doing their holiday sale, and I think they're on week 2 of 4. And last week they had Valiant Hearts on sale. Have you read anything about that?
Yeah, a little bit.
That game is contender for Game of the Year for me. It is that good. For a $14 game, I picked it up when it was like $7.50. But for those of you who don't know what it is a side-scrolling puzzle platformer historical historical game. It takes place in World War I, which not too many games delve into, but it follows the story of a grandpa, a son, a wife, and a best friend. And all happens during World War I, and this little family unit is comprised of a German and then 2 people from France, and the dad gets sent over to Germany. He gets deported from the country, so he's fighting for the German army, and then the grandpa gets recruited for the French army, and they're fighting against each other, and he meets this best friend. And it's these 4 stories that intertwine. And as you're going along, you're picking up little tidbits about the war, and the diaries for the people are filling out, and you can read their thoughts and their letters back and forth to each other. But then it ties in like actual pieces of history with real photos and like real events and real people. And it's so well balanced and put together that it's like attending a history class.
Yeah, and I haven't played it yet. I've heard a little bit about it, and one of the things I was most impressed with was that like Ubisoft made it, which is kind of neat. They kind of got into that indie scene. I know.
Yeah, and I had no idea who made it, and when I fired it up for the first time, I saw Ubisoft, and my first thought was like, "Oh, this thing's going to be a broken hot mess."
Which, yeah,
but no, it's good. I mean, the art direction. Christy, that was the first thing she caught. She's like, "I really like the music, and I love the art in this." And like, she just sat down to experience the music and the art. She didn't care anything about the story. Very little dialogue. Everything is told through diary or like dramatic monologues between the different chapters. But I don't want to use the term it's an experience, because I feel like that's what everybody was using with Flower and Journey and Flow. And for me, it's all about the sound. Like, put a good pair of headphones on and play this and just immerse yourself in the music, because it is that good.
Yeah, and I also heard, not to change the subject, but I guess Ubisoft made Child of Light too, which is also kind of another indie scene.
Yeah, Child of Light had a phenomenal soundtrack.
Yeah, and that's kind of cool. I like that these big developers are trying to take a little bit of a risk. But I just now I googled Valiant Hearts as you were talking about that. That art style does look cool. Like almost like something out of a comic book or something. That's cool.
Yeah, and it's fluid, and it looks great in motion. And as far as I've gotten, I don't know if this is true for the rest of the game. There's no combat per se. Like, you don't have a gun and you're not shooting people and ducking behind cover. It's not that type of game. It's almost more along the lines of a puzzle / stealth game where you're trying to sneak past these people. You can throw grenades to blow down barricades and then sneak up and attack these people. But perhaps the coolest character that I've come across so far is there's a dog in the game. And I know Call of Duty tried to inject emotion into a dog for ghosts, and it just kind of ended up being a goofy mess. But this game, you actually care about this dog, because early on in the game, he almost dies, and this other character comes in and saves him, and you're like, okay, this dog has a little bit of an impact, because it was a German-owned dog, and the French soldier gets it, and those two become pals. And like, it's just so interwoven and so well done that you actually start to care for these people in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, how long is that game?
I don't know, to be honest. I can't imagine it's too terribly long, but again, I was just having a conversation with a buddy about this in the car tonight, and for me, length doesn't equal quality.
No.
Because look at Uncharted. I mean, $60 for a 6-hour game, easily one of the best $60 I've ever spent. Or you can pay $60 for something like in a new Assassin's Creed game and put 100 hours into it to explore everything. And it's like, well, I did the same damn thing 400 times.
Yeah.
Or like, To the Moon, 4-hour game, paid $10 for it, and it was fantastic. So this one, I don't know. I would guess maybe if you want to collect, there's like 125 random items that you can collect throughout the game, and each item reveals a little bit more backstory on the people or on a historical piece. And if you collect all of those, I'd assume it's maybe 5 hours tops. So good length for a $15 game. And if you picked it up for $7.50, easily one of the best $7 you'll spend this year.
Yeah, it seems like those type of games are getting a little bit more surface, like the Walking Dead games. I know that's kind of I don't know. It's a good game, and it's definitely one of those things you don't have to go back and play a million times, and it's a short game. You know, those experiences only last about 2 hours. So
yeah.
I think that's good. It definitely, a lot of us gamers, I know me being an older gamer, it's hard to fit in, a 30-hour, 40-hour RPG all the time.
Well, that's why I've been a little bit reluctant to pick up Dragon Age, because I know that it's like, okay, I'm settling in for easily 100-hour commitment here, and I just don't have time for that, because first of all, as you get older, you have more responsibility and less free time, and then add a kid into the mix and a marriage into the mix. It's like, okay, you have to ration your time. And fortunately, my wife is very, very understanding, and she actually encourages me. She's like, oh, you're going to sit down and play a game? And she's like, okay, I'll sit here and grade papers and watch the kid and you can play a game. But I don't know if I want to dedicate 100 hours to something like that. So for me, these little bite-sized games are fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm a bit OCD in games, so like when I do play those 100-hour games, I want to try to do everything I possibly can. So
yeah, I was like that with Skyrim.
Yeah,
that got a little, I platinumed it.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, I did a little too much.
Yeah, I'm playing Far Cry 3 right now, so I'm a little bit behind on the Far Cry series, but I just liberated every outpost and found every cell phone tower. So
just pretend the mountain lions are elephants and the cell phone towers are gliders, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I heard it's pretty much the same game, but yeah,
pretty much.
I've been playing that, and it's taking me forever because I don't like to. Every time I'll go to the next mission, I want to get the next thing. So
yeah, I was like that with the Uncharted series, but let's change gears here. We decided to start playing through Suikoden 1, mainly to get to Suikoden 2. If this were the Final Fantasy series, I wouldn't care because they don't tie together, but because these series do exist within the same universe and the storyline carries on, we want to play through the first one. And unfortunately, I hear it's not too terribly long, but yeah, Suikoden 1, very early PS1 game, 1995, came out of absolutely nowhere. I believe it was initially released in Japan. They did not decide to translate the name for North America, which was a little off-putting for a lot of people because they look at that and they go, well, what the hell is that name? I'm going to go play this instead.
I immediately thought it was some kind of like strategy game, which I'm not a big fan of the strategy RPGs. With that name, and it just reminded me of all of those Koei games. I never gave it a shot until here recently. I played it a little bit.
That ties into the conversation we were just having a few minutes ago about naming your kid. Here's a game with a stupid name. People are going to look at it and go, what the hell is that? I'm going to go somewhere else. Like, people judge based on the name.
Exactly.
Even still, I think it's a dumb name. I know the game is great, but it's a dumb name for a North American game.
And until recently, I have a good friend who thinks the Suikoden series is the best RPG in the world, and I just kind of laughed because I've never really heard of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then I started researching. This is about a year ago. I started researching it, and a lot of people have that same opinion, so it kind of shocked me.
Well, I think that also too falls into that category of games that if you weren't exposed to it as a kid with your friends, then you would have no idea what it was. I didn't hear about this series until probably my junior year in college. Met a guy in my computer class talking about video games, and he came over because I had the Resistance 2 beta. We were playing through that, and I was just talking about what games he liked, and he gave me his PlayStation ID name for PS3, and it was McDole 88 or something like that. I'm like, what the hell is McDole? And he looked at me like I was mentally handicapped because like, you've never heard of McDole? Like, no, dude, sorry. And he's like, you said you like RPGs. And he's like, you got to play Suikoden. So that's right when it had come out on PSN. So I downloaded it. And like I was talking about in our chat earlier, I've played through Suikoden 1 almost completely. But the second time playing through it, I don't recognize anything. And I only played through it like 6 years ago. I don't recognize a single thing other than the art style. That's it. Like nothing rung a bell with me. So I don't know if it really didn't make that much of an impact or I just didn't care at the time, but that kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah, and I find myself playing it and not really paying attention too much to it, which I think that's probably part of it because a lot of the environments look the same from town to town and the overworld map, but I don't know. It's just there's really nothing, other than some text. There's no cutscenes. Yeah, I don't think they really started doing cutscenes till a few years later on PlayStation.
Well, the PlayStation came out in '94, and this was released right around. This is almost a launch title. Like I would almost say this was launch window for this, and it's really interesting to look at the growth of a console generation, and we can use Suikoden for example because you look at it, and if you were to show it to somebody who really wasn't that versed in video games, I would say they would probably put this at Super Nintendo era because it looks like a Super Nintendo game. Very, very clear Super Nintendo game. I still think some of them might look better than this, but it was an early PlayStation game. You look at that, and then you look at what we had at the end of the PlayStation, like Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX, and you're just like, holy crap, they figured out how to use this system. But you're right, this game is very, very generic looking. The one thing that I've always enjoyed about these JRPGs is the environments and the buildings and going into them and exploring. And these ones just, every building you walk into, the first impression I got was this building's too big and there's nothing in it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I kept getting lost. I think you kind of mentioned that too. And unless you're playing the game or taking notes, I really didn't know where to go next. I would just
I actually have a notepad that I keep on my coffee table now for when I play this, and I just have little bullet points of like a quick note to myself of what to do next, because I think I've become a little spoiled with modern games, and you have your objective list or your compass marker or your mini map to go to. This game, they give you exactly one line of text, and if you aren't reading it, have fun. Either reset or figure out where the hell to go. And I refuse to use a walkthrough for this.
Yeah, I haven't tried that yet, but like you just said, I was reading through some of the text in there, and I hit the button way too fast and thought, oh crap, where am I going? And I reset the game so I could go back and read it.
If you look at some of the text at the beginning of the game where Craze, the first military guy that you're assigned to, gives you your first mission, he tells you where to go, and then he makes you repeat it back to you. So it's like, are you paying attention? Is it northeast, northwest, southeast, or is it right here? You're like, okay, it's northeast. He's like, good, you are paying attention. And that should be a cue to anybody. Like, you get one shot at this.
Yeah, apparently I didn't pay too much attention to that part either.
And I suppose as an RPG player, that's cool because it's hearkening back to the days of exploration. Like, okay, just kind of just go with it and level up on the way and just explore the game. But as you said, there's really not a lot there. It's a very bare bones, basic RPG.
Yeah, and I felt like the combat was very easy. I'm not the best at turn-based RPGs. It usually takes me a little while, and I definitely don't grasp them as well as other people do, and I haven't really had any trouble with any battle in here at all. It's been pretty simple.
It's an interesting concept, because what's that feature they have where it just auto runs?
Yeah, it's like free will or something.
Yeah, I love the turn-based RPGs, and I like the different styles that I've encountered across different games. But this one, unless your characters are near death, you just pound free will and you are fine. You get to a boss and you do attack once and go to one of your runes, boom, battle over. The combat's not difficult.
Yeah, and they have that whole formation set up where you can put your characters in certain areas of the battlefield or whatever. And I really only used that when I had characters with ranged weapons. If they threw, shurikens or they had arrows, I just put them in the back. I didn't really know of any other better strategy other than that.
Yeah, and that's pretty much all it is. I didn't pick up on that until I went to use free will, and I noticed, like, why is that person not attacking? And then it hit me like, oh, well, I've got an arrow, I've got an archer in the front row, and I've got a guy with a sword in the back row. I move that shit around, and boom, you're right back to winning every battle in no time. I don't think I've ever had to go through free will more than 2 or 3 times to get through a battle.
Yeah.
And
it seemed like your medicine was pretty abundant as well. Like you start out with quite a bit, and I felt like I picked up a good amount to where I never needed to buy any.
I didn't like how the innkeepers charge you per person in your party. So you get to one town and it's like, it'll be $70 a person. Jesus, this is an expensive inn visit.
Oh wow, I didn't even realize that. Well, see, and then I've been playing on my PSP, and when I'm done, I just hit the PlayStation button and plug it in. I never turn it off. So I really haven't. I've saved it a few times, but I never really needed to stay in the inn, I guess. I didn't realize it charged you for every person.
Yeah, it's almost cheaper to go and purchase medicine and heal everybody than it is to stay at the inn.
Well, and that's the thing. I haven't had to use that much medicine, and I didn't. I guess I should have put that together. About every RPG you play, if you stay at an inn or go to some area that heals you, and I didn't even really realize that. That's bad.
Well, and that's one of the mainstays of RPGs is you get to a town, you go to the inn, and you recoup and you regather your strength, and you only use medicine if you can afford it because the medicine was expensive, or you use the magic to heal yourself, but you only have so much MP, and you can't restore your MP unless you stay at the inn, and like everything was revolved around the inn, and here it's just like, I need a place to go dump off my money, but money is insanely abundant.
Yeah.
It's not hardly. I think maybe 3 hours into the game, I already had $40,000. Bits.
Yeah, bits. Yeah. Yeah, and that kind of, going back to healing at an inn. My favorite RPGs are your, your looting, dungeon crawling type RPGs. So a lot of Diablo when I was growing up.
Yeah, the action RPGs.
Yeah, exactly. So you just had this one guy you'd walk to and he'd heal you. Healer Kane or whatever his name was. But yeah, I don't know why. I played a lot of Pokemon too, which I know is one of your favorite games. And
but, yes, Pokemon Yellow, fantastic title. Everybody should play it.
But you'll go into the Poke Center or whatever and healing all your Pokemon. I should have made more sense of that. I really don't think it just where the battles are so easy. I never really thought about it. Didn't really have to heal very often, other than throwing some medicine out there every now and then.
So the game itself, we didn't really talk about the game itself. I think it's hailed mainly for its story, and with these, I kind of like this one, and maybe that's why I've liked the Final Fantasy games, is because they revolve so much around politics, and I can't say for certain, like, that's what got me interested in certain aspects of politics, is like growing up playing Final Fantasy games where the story is all about politics and war and stuff like that. But I feel like it did have a little bit of an impact, and that's kind of what I gravitate towards now. But, it's not your generic go out and save the world type story. You get to play as your own character, and this is the one thing I don't like, is when you get to name your own character, because then you don't really have the same point of reference as everybody else does. You have to make sure, like, when you and I are talking, you clearly named your person somebody else or something else than I did. And Jess had to go the perverted route and name her character Bader. So everybody refers to her character as Master Bader. And I'm kind of jealous because I wish I would have thought of that in the first place. But she was saying that she actually went and restarted her game once people discovered that, or once she discovered you could make that joke. So for her, it was worth it to lose that 30 minutes of time.
Wow. See, maybe high school Nick would have went back and did that, but no, yeah. I didn't even think.
Yeah, I just got a standard name. It's like Stuff. My name is Stuff. Just Stuff. Let's go. Let's get on with this because I don't care.
Now, will it give you a default name if you don't pick one? Because like in Zelda games where you can actually name your character Eric or Nick, but if you don't, sit in. Does he have like a?
You have to give your character a name. So I don't necessarily like that because then everybody's story is a little different. And I guess that's okay, but I like there to be a common name. Like I was telling Jess that I named my character in Final Fantasy VII, I named Tifa the first time I played it Sexy in all capitals. And every time I play Final Fantasy VII now, I don't change the name, but I see her name pop up, her picture, and the name Tifa next to it. And it's like, I'm trying to mesh this new memory with the old memory, and it doesn't quite fit. And I just like it. Like, you guys are the writers of the game. Pick a name and just make me enjoy that name. I don't care if it's a silent protagonist. Just give them a name.
Especially for games that are story-driven like that. Now, if you're playing Skyrim or a game where you customize your character, absolutely, let me name him. But no, not a game like that. I agree.
But you, the character, are the son of the legendary T.O. McDole, general of the Imperial Army. And at the beginning of the game, you are becoming a knight apprentice, I think is what it's called. I don't even know what it is. You are joining the Imperial Army for the first time, and your father's really proud, but he has to go up and fight the war in the north where it's really dangerous, and he makes some sad, sappy comment about, well, I hope I see you again. And you meet up with your ragtag team of people at your mansion, and there's this one guy named Gremio who's got like this 300-year-old man crush on this little boy, which is really weird. I mean, this guy would stab himself for you just to protect you from his own. It's goofy. I mean, this guy he's a little creepy. No, he's not the 300-year-old guy. Ted is the 300-year-old. Which is cool.
Yeah. He's the one that kind of, like I said, I haven't played this game, but he's the one that went to the witch or whatever and tried to, I don't know, he had a rune or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So you're joining the army, and your first couple missions are fetch and retrieve, and you go to this astral witch, and you find out that you've been backstabbed, and that the queen or someone like that is actually this witch who wants to overthrow the government or something like that, and you suddenly become an outcast, and you fall in with the rebels and Odessa, and you learn that you have to make this choice between returning to the or sticking with the rebels. And this being an early RPG, you don't really have a choice. You can say, I want to go back, but they're like, are you sure? And you're like, I want to go back. And like, are you sure? And you could do that all day, but ultimately until you choose the option to advance the storyline. That's as far as I am.
I remember, because I said, no, I'm not ready to go lead whatever that is, the liberation. And I'm like, okay, come back, let me know when you are. And okay.
It's kind of cool. It kind of harkens back to something like Final Fantasy III when you're in the very first city and the government is the army's coming in to find you, and you have to escape. And you do that with the Imperials, and Odessa ends up getting injured going back. And there's a really goofy moment that just I hope they explain it later, but you're down in the basement with Odessa, and she's laying on the floor about to die, and she makes a comment like, it's okay, hey, you can come out now. And this dude just pops out of her, just out of nowhere, and runs away. And they say nothing else about it. Do you remember that?
I must have missed that. I know when you sent us a message about something real awkward happening, and I couldn't remember. I know she said something about put my body in the stream, but
yeah, it was right before that. This dude, this little boy, I think Cleo makes some sort of passing remark about like take him or something like that. You're like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Okay, yeah. I thought maybe she was just like protecting some kid from, I don't know, just some random kid from the attack.
I think she is or was, but like, where the hell was this kid hiding?
I don't know. You think maybe it was just some bad animation from this game?
Like, at the very least, they could have put an armoire in the corner and had the kid pop out from there, but like, he popped out of her butt. Like, she's on the ground bleeding out, and he just pops up and runs away. But
wow.
The other part that I thought was really funny is when you get back to town, the innkeeper tries to protect you, and you come back into I can't remember the name of the city, Saraday, and you open the door and the innkeeper's on the ground, and he tells like, oh yeah, the Imperials came back looking for you, and since the innkeeper, you walk up to him and you want to talk to him, like, you stay at the inn. He made some comment like, God, I really can't let you stay right now. And choose save. I always view the innkeeper when you choose save as they've got these big ass letters that they just flip the big book open and they just start writing everything that you're saying, and they've got a ledger for every damn adventure that comes through, and it's like, you have time to give me a key to a room, but you have time to record every nuance of my adventure as you're dying.
I never thought of it that way. That's cool.
I just looked at that, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's just something goofy.
Yeah.
No, so Odessa's the leader of this Imperial rebellion, and the part where we're at, I think you and I both stopped at the same part, isn't too terribly far after this, where everything kind of unravels, and Odessa doesn't want people to know that she's dead, because she's the last hope and the leader of this rebellion, and you need to. We just worked our way south through one of the fortresses, like the border of the Imperial army, and we're keeping it a secret that she's dead. And your character, you, the adventurer, having been with these people for all of 2 hours, are suddenly thrust into the leader of the rebellion army, and from here we move on to like recruiting different characters. But I was going to see if you caught another nuance as you're crossing over the Quaba Fortress. There was the general that came out and told the two guards, like, if this was the son of T. McDowell, why would he be dressed like such a pauper, and why would he be out in public? And the guards go, yeah, whatever. And as you walk through, like, that general that let you through, he makes a comment along the lines of, take care of your father, and then you walk away.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was strange.
And I don't know if that, like, he's a general that's a sympathizer with the rebellion, if, like, ascension forming in the Imperial Army, or if that was just a one-off comment that maybe he really, like, he obviously knew it was you.
Yeah. Wait, and I feel like his father's going to have some big twists soon if we ever get to meet up with him again. Because did you get to the part where he delivered the earring?
Delivered the... I need to stop playing this late at night when I'm about to go to bed, because I forget shit.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a twist after you do that. You meet the guy who you delivered to, so it just seems like this game has a lot of twists, which is pretty cool.
Is that is that the part where you're at the inn and you, the character, and oh no, this is after Odessa's dead.
Yeah. No,
I made it to the city on the other side of Quaba and talked to who wasn't dying, and that's where I stopped.
Okay, well, it's not too far after that. You're tasked to give the earring to a certain gentleman.
Okay.
And that sounded stupid, a certain gentleman, but
I like.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
Oh, it has a little twist, which is pretty cool. It seems like the stories keep me interested,
and that's what I hear.
I feel like there's a lot of characters though, and I can't remember all their names real well. So that's kind of that part's kind of bothering me a little bit, but it's definitely interesting. I can't wait to see what happens with his dad. I mean, his dad just went off north, right? Fighting some. Okay. I'm sure that's going to come around, do something.
The naming gets worse because there are over 100 different characters you can collect. 101, I think.
Oh wow.
From what I remember, you go on to establish a fortress or a stronghold, and then pretty much every unique character that you come across in the game. So if you talk to them and they pop up with a picture, they are at some point a recruitable character. And everything that I've read about how to play this game is, if ever given an opportunity to recruit somebody, don't ever say no, because you will never have an opportunity to recruit again. And somebody sent out a tweet or an email or something about a point of no return that you actually can hit, where if you go too far, you can be ill-equipped or something like that. I don't want to spoil anything for myself, even though I have played a majority of this game. I don't remember it.
Okay, so is there a limit to how many people are in your party at one time?
Yes, and they said find the group that you like and stick with it, but recruit everybody regardless. And did you start have you experimented with the blacksmiths at all where you can sharpen your weapon?
Yeah, it was kind of like, repairing your weapon. I think I did.
Yeah, and it's like leveling up, giving it more damage.
Yes. Yeah, I did that a few times. I probably need to go do it some more.
Yeah, and they say that don't worry about upgrading everybody because you're not going to play with everybody.
That's true.
So stick with the crew that you like and upgrade their weapons as needed.
Well, what really stinks is I really, in the beginning of the game, I really liked that character. I think it was Pahn, P-A-H-N. Yeah, he was kind of like a fighter. Yeah. He's the one that kind of betrayed. I really liked that guy. He had a real cool rune move. And, of course he stabbed you in the back, so that sucks.
What did he do again?
Wasn't he the one that kind of turned him in?
I think so.
Yeah.
I need to just read cliff notes of this game.
I did too. I just watched some walkthroughs or some playthroughs.
I think that's a product of modern games where you just click through shit because there's not a lot of story-based games where a lot of stories is delivered via dialogue. And going back to playing reading-based games, it's like, okay, I gotta process this, I gotta remember this. And like, even playing Bravely Default, so much of that was delivered through dialogue.
Yeah. I'm just bad anymore because, I'm playing 4 or 5 different games. We're watching 6 or 7 TV shows.
Oh, yeah.
I can't. It's so hard to keep up with the story anymore.
Saturation.
Oh, it's awful. It is awful. All these streaming services we have, it's just way too much.
Instant gratification. And that's kind of why I want to go back to like the way that we used to play games and enjoy them for what they were and just immerse yourself in them. So I'm trying to do this thing where I don't get too involved in multiple games at once. I mean, I've always got my go-to game to just dick around in. Like right now, I just play GTA 5 when I need something mindless to play. But when I'm in the mood to play something good, I'll sink my teeth into it and I want to like focus on it. But,
yeah, and that's kind of the whole reason we love the Wii U so much at my house. Cause Mario Kart.
Oh yeah.
You just sit down and play it for 30 minutes, put it down.
Mindlessly pick it up and go.
Yep.
So. I know that Jess has been playing it. She's not nearly as far, but we are gonna keep tackling this along with other games that we're playing. But we probably, we're gonna have a good 2 weeks to play. I want to get a good ways into this, so we've got some talking points on it. But we should go on to some emails. You got any other games you want to talk about?
Not really. Nope.
All right. Emails, factorysealed@manatank.com. Send us your thoughts, questions, suggestions, muses. No, not muses. If you have a muse, send it to us. Ramblings, whatever. First question comes from Ben M. Hey, Factory Sealed crew, having grown up mainly with PC games, I'd like to know, have you guys played any PC games? Whether recently or retro, I'd like to know. Personally, my favorite PC exclusive is Planescape Torment. I'd also like to recommend Silver Star Story for discussion. PC games, Nick, did you grow up on them?
Yeah, we had when Windows 95, 98 came out, so I was real big into Doom and Quake and Duke Nukem, but Diablo, I mentioned that earlier, was probably the first RPG I ever sat down and played. And, and even Diablo 3, I like Diablo 3, but
it's nothing compared to Diablo 1.
Yeah, Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 had a type of magic that just pulled me in. And those are two games I still own. I still have to run, put it in my computer now and run as administrator and do all this crazy stuff just to get to work.
Well, they were the first of their kind, and they were so well done that most games that are the first of their kind just kind of establish the foundation and everybody else builds off of it. These games, it's like, hey guys, here's the standard, and everybody else is like, how do I do that? And they just can't.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Diablo, I wouldn't understand any RPGs. It kind of made me, when that came out, like 95, 96, so I was probably 13, 14 years old, and that was the first time I really dug in. So that's kind of what taught me about, hit points and magic and leveling up and getting armor. That type of game kind of introduced me to RPGs, and if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be playing, Suikoden today. So definitely that game. Really after that, the only other PC game I really got into was Tribes. Yeah, first-person shooter.
Oh, yeah.
Have jetpacks. Other than that, I kind of quit PC gaming.
Yeah, PC gaming, it hit a certain point with me in the late 90s where when it started to transition into you need a dedicated graphics card, that's kind of where I died off from it because consoles were becoming big then, and it was easier to do consoles than it was to do PC. But growing up, I'm kind of along the same lines with you. I played Diablo, and late 90s, we took a road trip down to the southern tip of Texas, and we were fortunate enough to have a laptop at that time. And that was kind of a big deal. And my dad let me bring it. He bought a power inverter, and I just sat in the back of the van and played Diablo the entire way there and the entire way back. And I remember I got down to the final level, and I was getting ready to face off against Diablo, and my stepmom deleted the game save. So, and I never really got back around to it. So honestly, I've never beaten Diablo. But the other game that I put way more time into than I care to admit is the original Baldur's Gate. And that's the game that truly got me into the dungeon crawling style games because that had more of the D&D aspect to it. And it was a little bit more strategic, whereas for me, Diablo was just boom, hack and slash and go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I played those. I mean, I played Descent. Didn't really play a whole lot of Duke Nukem. I played Doom, but PC gaming now for me is just like what? Yeah, okay, I can get it on PC for a couple bucks, and that's about it.
Yeah, Steam deals.
Yeah, I try to avoid those. Next email comes from Jay Jorgensen, longtime listener, first-time writer. Hello, Factory Seal crew. I'm from the North Metro of the Twin Cities in Minnesota. I found your show a few weeks ago after the Doom episode, which gave me a really good amount of time to catch up on the previous episodes. Because of your show and Nick Stevens' emails, I found the NES podcast and the entire Retro Junkies network, which I listen to all the shows, except that Silliness Gems show. with Eric shitting on a ton of games that defined my childhood, namely Yoshi's Island and Pokemon, Aaron constantly getting the shit-colored star, and Jess's incessant need to giggle about everything and talk about cats. Thoroughly enjoyed the show and look forward to many more, even with the hiatus 27 on the horizon. I like those emails, just learning where people are from and how they found us.
That's cool.
So,
and I knew Jay writes into a few of the other shows I'm in. So that's kind of cool. It's funny how I started listening to your all show and then joined another network, and everyone's kind of coming full circle. Really neat.
Yeah. Glad we had an impact on someone. Chad McIntosh. Oh, sorry. We have to save his email for next time because he's got dedicated questions for each of us. So we're going to save, and his is a long email, so we're going to save it for next time. Michael Kelso writes in. Hola, Factory Seal peeps. Glad to hear that you're back, even if you did bring that hoser Nick Stevens to be on your show. Just wanted to say that the new format sounds great. Can't wait to hear the goods.
He told me he was writing in, so I figured it was going to be a little stab to me.
I'm glad it's of substance. Very, very well thought out.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Way to go.
Last email comes from Brianna Miller. Welcome back, Factory Seal crew, and just a general welcome to Nick. I'm super excited that you guys decided to play through Suikoden and Suikoden 2. I've been doing just that, and I am halfway through Suikoden right now. Wanted to know if you have ever rage quit or rage deleted a save file. I have fond memories of Suikoden and played through almost to the end before accidentally passing the point of no return and realizing I had missed one character. Immediately deleted the save file and haven't played the game again until now. That was in 1998. Always listening and hoping you enjoy your playthrough. Never played Suikoden 2 since I couldn't get my hand on a copy. So expensive. Bree.
Now I'm worried that's going to happen to me.
Yeah. And I every fiber of my being says I want to use a strategy guide, but I'm not going to do it. Just not. Yeah. And we'll see who gets to the end of the game with more characters.
Wow. We're all going to get the stars.
Yeah. Have you ever rage quit anything?
Rage quit?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not familiar with that. Just got mad and
just pissed off. You're like so mad. You're like, fuck this. I'm done.
I did that with Oblivion, just because I was only running one save the whole game, and I saved it in like the worst spot ever. Like I was on the side of a hill, and there was a bunch of dudes around me, and I couldn't get away from it. I hit save.
That was the worst.
Every time I loaded it, it was just dead, and I got mad and quit. I never beat that game. I beat Skyrim.
I never beat Oblivion either.
So I was just, I was so mad. I even have like the collector's version sitting here. I'm looking at it right now. It's still making me mad thinking about it.
I have 3 copies of that game on PC and Xbox 360 and PS3. I've never beaten it.
Oh wow!
I just got burned out on closing the Oblivion gates. It's like, oh yeah, you got to do this 19 more times.
Yeah, and I'm glad Skyrim didn't take that route. Skyrim was a beautiful game. The
only game I've ever rage quit, and it wasn't like quit the game permanently, it was just rage quit out of a session with it, was Final Fantasy VIII. I was nearing the end of the game, and anybody who's played that game how it should be played knows that there are 2 special islands on that game. One called Island Closest to Heaven, and one called Island Closest to Hell, and they've got the hardest enemies in the game. And I was pretty powerful, but I wanted to make sure that when I got to the end of the game, it was no joke, and I was easily going to beat it. So I was just running around leveling up all day. It's just what I dedicated my Saturday to leveling up. I was just walking around the field, killing stuff, and finally I felt like I was at a point where I was strong enough to go to this island closest to Hell. And one of the most difficult enemies in that game is the T-Rex. You meet him right away at the beginning, but you end up running away. And they are abundant on Island Closest to Hell, and they're super difficult. And I was not making a habit of visiting the innkeeper or a save point as I was running around doing my leveling. I mean, I think I leveled from like level 45 to maybe 80, 85, not once ever saving. And took a trip to the island closest to Hell. First battle, T-Rex, dead. Yeah, I lost like 9 hours in that game. And I just said, that sucked big time because I didn't want to go back and do that all again. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to play the game and enjoy it as it is. And it made the rest of the game a lot more difficult though, because I didn't really have the gear I wanted to, but I was not about to dedicate another day to just grinding.
Yeah.
But that's the only time.
This is kind of on topic, a little off topic. So I have a 5-year-old son, and I don't know what you think about kids playing games at a young age, but he's 5. I let him play games, and it's real sad because anytime he gets mad or starts to whine, like I immediately turn the game off.
Mm-hmm.
I sound like such a hypocrite because I'll tell him we don't get mad at games.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh wow, I just said that. So I don't know. What's your take on that? Are you going to let your daughter play games at a early age?
No.
Are you gonna let her?
No, absolutely not. I don't think that. I think if I do, they're going to be older games. I don't think that. First of all, technology is not healthy for children, and I could go on for hours and hours and hours about that. My daughter will not own a phone any time before she's 16 and absolutely needs it. I'll never buy my kid an iPad because they don't need it. And so much of that stuff has been, from what I've read and what I believe, I mean, every parent is going to parent how they want to, and they have that full right to do so, and I'm never going to be one to criticize. I just see how children become so easily addicted to things, and even my daughter now, she's 9 months old, there are things that she's very clearly addicted to, and I try to limit what I do in front of her. Like, I don't sit and fidget on my phone all the time in front of her because I don't want her to see that and associate that with what's okay to do and just become glued to that. So whenever I'm around her, I try to have books out and I try to be reading, or I try to be listening to music or playing instruments and doing stuff like that. So she picks up on that. But I do want to expose her to games, but I want to expose her to games in a more methodical approach. I just read an article about a guy who raised his son and made his son play through the chronological history of video games. I'm like, that's a little much.
Yeah.
But the National Pediatric Association put out this huge article and this huge study about handheld devices should be nationally banned for children under the age of 12. And they listed all of these reasons why. And some of them I agreed with, some of them I didn't necessarily agree with. But kids can't differentiate between fiction and reality. They can't. For them, a video game is reality. What happens in the game
can happen in real life. And I want to make sure that when I do introduce games to my daughter, it's going to be this, we do it together, and I explain to her, this is a game, this isn't reality. I guarantee you she will not be playing the modern games of the day.
No.
Like, I don't understand how parents will go out and purchase Grand Theft Auto for their kids. I don't understand why. And those are the types of games that she will not be exposed to unless I know that she can handle it. My parents let me play it because they sat down with me and talked to me about it, and they played it with me and said, this is fiction, this is reality, this can't really happen, don't do this. And a lot of times parents don't do that. So, long story short,
and
yes, I will let her play some games like Mario. Yeah, totally. Mega Man, totally.
And that's why the Wii U is fun with my son. You know, he doesn't play when I'm not here. We play like twice a week. You know, I make it sound like we play all the time, but the best thing I do with my kids, I literally go back in their room and I lay down on their floor and just play toys and board games and puzzles with them. That's the best thing because it gets their mind thinking.
Yeah.
It keeps, because when I was a kid, I had some friends who were very addicted to games. You couldn't even talk to them while they're playing it, and it's funny because when my son plays games, I make sure he can hear me. I'm like, hey Isaac, make sure he can actually turn around and look at me.
Yeah.
I had friends that get so engrossed in those games they didn't know what was going on around them.
Yeah, and I don't. I'm not like that. I always make sure to be able to converse and talk and enjoy the game. And I like what you do. You don't get mad. The second you get mad, boom, it's off and we're done.
Yep.
I like that. That's a good tactic.
Yeah, even though I get really mad sometimes.
Well, the other thing too is if you do let them play modern games, for God's sakes, don't let them play online.
No.
Absolutely.
I don't even play online anymore. It made me too mad. I'm thinking I'm a grown man. I do not need to be getting that mad over a video game. So I stopped online multiplayer games.
Well, I don't even get mad about it anymore. I just can't stand the culture and the climate and the people on it. Like, I bought the new Call of Duty just because I wanted to play Call of Duty, but I mute everyone in there. I just don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And more often than not, they're kids that are in there. And it's just some of the most racist shit.
Yeah, and they can talk smack better than I can. I'll never forget, this kid was just, every racist slur you could ever think of, and I was just being a smart aleck and I said, hey, do you kiss your mama with that mouth? And he immediately just says, I kiss your mama with that mouth. I thought, my goodness.
He probably heard it from his daddy, too.
Probably. So I'm like, I can't even, talk smack to a 10-year-old.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be one of those things where I have this ideal scenario of how it's going to play out, but, that's going to change. So, we'll see. It'll be one of those things where I do expose her to it, but I'm going to expose her to, like, what I perceive to be good games.
Yeah.
And in a manner that I perceive to be appropriate. You know what? That's it for emails. And unless we have anything else we want to talk about.
Yeah. Is this a segment where we start talking about dad jokes?
Dad jokes. This is the dad joke show. We really missed the boat on that. Damn it. Just a reminder, please send in audio clips. We really want to have a cool show for you all next week, everybody to listen to. It doesn't matter what it is. Don't feel like people are going to be like, well, it's a stupid memory. If it's meaningful to you, send it in. We want to hear it. We're going to listen to them all. We're going to talk about them. We're going to put them on the show. But the show will not exist next week without you guys. So if there's no show, it's not our fault. How's that for a guilt trip?
I like it.
Good. All right, if you want to... Oh, yeah, how to share them. If it's short enough, which I'm assuming it should be, you could just save it as a zip file and email it to factorysealed@manatank.com. If it's too big, or if it will not let you, put it in your Google Drive. If you don't have a Google account, get with the times. Put it in your Google Drive and share it with us, and we will download it from there.
And you can also leave voice messages on Facebook, I believe. Like if you go to send the Factory Sealed Facebook page a message, it should let you record your voice.
Oh.
And you should be able to, we did that on another podcast I'm on, so you should be able to do that if the option's there for you. I don't think you can do it from a mobile device, which is great, because we do want the better quality.
Yes, please make sure it's a decent quality. Not dogs barking in the background, screaming, If it's a decent microphone, I understand everybody's not going to have podcast recording quality stuff, but, take some pride in what you're doing, and it'll sound really good, and we'll have a great show for you all next week. Again, factorysealedmanatake.com. Check us out on Facebook. We're starting to put a little more stuff on there. We want to engage. We want our community to become more cohesive. Share stuff with us. We'll share stuff with you. Tell your friends. The other thing, iTunes. Go on there and rate us. We did have, and they're probably fully warranted at the beginning of the show. We were just trying to find our feet. We had some pretty bad reviews. But if you like us, go on there, give us a rating, what you think is fair. That's it.
5 stars is fair. That's what I rated you when I was just a listener. So.
Yes, our only listener.
Oh, that's not true.
Nick, where can we find you on Twitter?
You can find me at NickyS485.
You gonna change that to something cooler?
I need to make it something more simple. That's just my tag I've been using for my whole life.
Yeah. We'll come up with something for it.
Something cooler. Thanks, man.
I am a Nick.
I am a Nick. Quilted shirt.
Yes, cool. I'm going to be the multicolored jacket.
Yeah, I'll just combine everything, like honest quilted Jess.
I am an honestly quilted tunic jacket.
I like it.
You can find me at Honest Pizza. That is going to do it for this week. Again, next week, Christmas. Enjoy it. Have fun. Send us your audio. That's going to be it for the show. Thank you for those of you who tuned in live. We don't do it all we'll do it all the time. Till next week. Bye-bye.